What's up, fellas? I'm doing tune-up on Betty. She wanted to skip on me a little bit last time I got in deep water, and I can show y'all how I do this. Now, these plug wires and all this has been on here for like 8 years now, ever since I put this motor in here. And if you look down, you can barely see down in there. You see that green? Now this was siliconed on, but I guess over time I didn't put enough or whatever. But I got a few of them that's green. The one on the coil needs to be cleaned. It's a little nasty. You can see the silicone still on it. But I don't know what kind of silicone I used that back then. I don't know what, it don't look like it's nothing for automotive. I just used what I had. But I take it. Now when you do this, you have to throw all the stuff away. Usually it don't want to come apart. Yeah, see that? Yeah, there's my problem. Look at that. You see how it was siliconed? You see that rust spot right there? It's still pretty clean up here, but we're gonna do something different this time. I got another idea. And also, when I take the cap, I put the cap on, and I fill the little vent tube up with silicone, and silicone the cap down on there, and then dielectric the plugs on that, seal that up like I showed y'all. Is another way to keep the water out of it. Take your computer out and silicone around all these edges, get all that stuff nice and clean, and then silicone it. You got a vent right here, but it's a one way, it won't let nothing in. And then fill these up with dielectric grease and smash them in there, and that seals that up good. But what I'm gonna do this time, y'all know I'm always trying stuff. This is a spark plugs that's been in it since I put the engine in there. It's been 7-8 years. Still looks a little lean on it, but that's probably just from driving. That's not under load. It keeps them clean like that because it's like 15-to-1 air fuel driving. I got a new cap. We're going to silicone these on. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to put the spark plug up in there and snap it. And this is a 1 inch or maybe 2 inch heat shrink. We're going to heat shrink all the way down to there. I'm going to heat shrink it around the spark plug boot, and then leave it down here around the spark plug. Just leave it unshrunk, and then when the motor gets up to temperature, it should shrink it down around the spark plug. And also we're going to put a bit of dielectric in there and some silicone, and silicone that on with some black. So I'm gonna do the cap around there, silicone that on, probably do the vent up again, do all these spark plugs. I'm going to put a piece of heat shrink in there like that, heat shrink around that, and it'll be good for maybe another few years until I change the head, you know. But if you do it like this and you do your tune-up, you basically got to throw everything away when you redo it, because which you want to do anyway, because usually your wires will want to pull apart. But that's what I do to make mine run in the water like I do. I know y'all have seen water up to here in my videos, my headlights going under. And also the coil you can relocate and move up higher, but I've never had an issue with it there as long as it's been siliconed. The big thing is siliconing everything up, because the steam will get in there. You think up high, the water ain't never gonna get that high. You're in trouble if it does, but the steam will get up there and get in your spark plugs, your wires. If you got that green electrolysis in there, it's like a powder. That stuff will just suck water right in, moisture, and it'll start skipping. So the motor's in good condition. I compression tested everything, and plugs look good. And these suckers has been in there for a minute. So I got these, I'm gonna put back in it only because I had 4 of them. So I bought 2 more. I'm gonna put them in there. Anyway, I'll do some of them up and I'll show y'all how I did it. I don't have my tripod set up. And there's the idea. So I'm going to heat shrink it up in here all the way down as far as I can where it'll still plug into the plug, and then the temperature from the engine should heat shrink it on. And we're going to do the same thing here with a piece coming up into here and silicone it. So let me get one of them done. I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, heat shrink down to the plug. Now we can slide that over the new spark plug after I put sealer in here, and the temperature of the engine should shrink it down. If not, we can put a little bit of heat around it and it will after we get it in. Alright, I'm going to put a dab of this inside the boot, put a little bit of this on the tip of the spark plug, and there we go. Plug her in, she's good to go. Got her gooped up. Alright, I'm gonna stick it on there. That's what we after. Get this cap off here. I'll show y'all how deep of the water it's been in. Let me do this and I'll show you when it's done. When we put that down in there, crank it up, and it gets up to temperature, it should shrink that right around the spark plug. Which it wasn't too bad on the spark plugs of water getting in it, but it is on the distributor. I'll show you when I get it out. Looks like I used something for the house or something, which is probably why it all melted out of here. But it was a long time ago when I did this. At least 7 years. I had to peel that off of there. I'm going to take emery cloth, clean this all up, and put some sealer on it too. I seal up underneath the plate and all that stuff. So let me get this out, and I'll clean it up and we'll put it all back. Don't look like anything's got in it. See, it's kind of like an open bowl in there. So I'm gonna clean all that up. Clean this reluctor wheel up, and I'll seal all that back up. But this is how I do it, man. This is how y'all see me running that deep water, and it don't ever skip or sputter or anything. When it starts doing that, you know you got some issues. So anywho, we get that all cleaned out right there. I'm gonna spray some WD in there, clean that shaft up, get all that nice and clean, and then we'll glue all the sensor back in there and all that stuff. Got a cam sensor cleaned up. A little bit of trash on the magnet here, but I'll reuse that. You might want to change that too. It's up to you while you got it apart. But I cleaned the shaft up. This shaft doesn't really conduct electricity or anything. It's just kind of basically to keep it from rust from spreading around in here. Clean the reluctor wheel off. I sprayed some light oil down in here. Now I'm going to put silicone around all of this on the bottom side. All around that lip. All around this. And just smash it down in there and seal it up. It's more important getting this right than it is spark plugs, because it's so low. But I got silicone around the whole thing. take my finger, go around the edge of it, get all the goop off. Don't put so much in there it's gonna all be inside of it and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just conservative, but enough. I learned this trick when I was a kid from my uncles and swamp buggies. The motor's down below you and you're sitting up above it, and you just seal everything up with silicone and run your intake up high. The thing will run underwater. And these distributors are sealed better than those old ones. I'm gonna put a dab in there so it don't get in the top here and fill up with water. First of all, I'm gonna see if it's a check valve, if it's only a one-way valve. I don't remember what I did on that, but I'll let you know. It looks like it's just a cap, vent cap, but we want to seal that up. It'll get air out of it. It ain't gonna be perfectly sealed. All right. Some of y'all might think this is nuts to do this, but it has worked for me for years now. And you can watch those movies, those videos where we're riding in the swamps, and it definitely works. So rotor's on, the bottom of the cam sensor is sealed. I'm gonna stick this down on there on the rotor. Also, you want that rotor to float. You know, you don't want it, you want it to go all the way down on the stud. That's another reason I cleaned the hole out, because that tab on the top of the rotor is spring loaded, and it rides on that pin right there where the coil comes through. Coil comes through here, fires when the ECM tells it to from the crank sensor, and then it just, all it does is disperse it to all these as it goes around. The distributor is basically a the cam sensor, and puts the fire around. It's all in the top, all in the rotor and coming through the top. All right, let me stick this on there and we'll get the wires back on it. I'll show you what I'm gonna do with the cap. All right, cap's glued on. We got our heat shrink on all of those. Now these definitely go under sometimes, wash over them. I don't know if, well, let's look at the old cap, you tell me. You know, it's definitely got water up in there. Let's get out of the light so much. It's a wonder it's running as good as it was. Now, those were sealed up and they still got water in them, so, and I don't know what I did to this cap on this one. I don't think if I put anything in it, it definitely fell out. We're going to silicone the mess out of these is what we're going to do, and put a piece of heat shrink over them too, down to here, and then after it all dries, I'll heat them up slowly and shrink them down around it, and do the same thing on the coil. That one's gotten water in it, that one, that one, hell, all of them. But like I said, this has been on there a long time and it worked. See, this one, the button's spring loaded. The one I just put in there is not. It's solid core. That's got a spring that I kind of like that other cap better, because this coil prong, all your fire goes through a little spring to that nub right there. So that cap I just put on there should have a stronger fire than this one. Stronger spark. All right, let me get some stuff cut and I'll show y'all how it all turned out, and we'll crank her up. All right, she's done. Heat shrink the plugs all the way down to the nut. Those are all silicone on. When you do these, you may have to press on them a few times. Keep pushing down on them to clear out the excess and where it don't push it off of there. I did the coil wire, it's sealed on. Now let's crank it up and see if we got the firing order off. I don't think so, but we'll see if that shrinks by itself. If not, I'll put torch in there and light it up one time and just shrink it on the end, wrap it around the plug. It's not really waterproofing it, but it is going to keep the steam out of it. Now what I do is I pull off, if I ain't ever been in something, I'll pull off in it slow, and if I hear the fan hitting, I'll gauge how much of an angle the Jeep's at and how much deeper it's going to have to go to get in it. But once your fan gets in the water, you know, most times you should just back right back out, because if you'll mess up your fan clutch. You got to think your alternator's underwater, which them alternators can take some water because that thing's been underwater 100 times. And if you look back at the videos when I put it in there, it was a long time ago and it's still kicking. And it's a 160 amp alternator off a Dodge Ram. I made a video on how to put that on there. That's the power wire to it, number 4. Anyway, enough talking. Let's crank it up. She got to run better because she was starting to run a little chitty. Skipping and missing a little bit at idle. I think my oil pressure gauge is unhooked. I must have pulled the wires on it. Something else to the motor. I'm gonna go on a camping trip back in the swamp here pretty soon, so I'm trying to get her sealed back up, because last time I got it skipping a couple times in the water, and it's just because that electrolysis in those plugs and those wires, that's what gets you. If the wires are fresh and they don't have the green electrolysis build up on them from being old, it won't skip as bad. And the rubber around the plugs is better, but over time that swells, and you know the electrolysis gets in there if you get moisture in it. And that's all this stuff that's in these. See there? And you could argue that it takes away some of your firing by doing that silicone like that, but I haven't seen any difference in it. That one's got some in it. Look at that one. That one. Up on the plug side, on the spark plug side, you can tell moisture was getting in there again. But I used the wrong stuff and it melted out of there is what happened. Let's look at this one. I think all of them have it. That one looks a little cruddy. Guess the warner's thing was running good as it was. I just happened to pull one off and look at it when we got back, because it was kept wanting to skip on me. And anytime you get any kind of corrosion on there, it's the same thing with electrical systems on the lift trucks. Once they get old and the connections get, you know, crusty, what I call it, like get that electrolysis on there, it's that the green death. Once you start getting that on there, that powdery stuff just absorbs moisture like crazy. But yeah, she needed to tune up. Got her some fresh plugs in there. Good to go. Now I'm gonna check all my vent tubes. That's another thing. After you silicone these up, not silicone, but dielectric silicone. It's silicone that doesn't dry. You can put that in these plugs and make sure all your vents from your axles and stuff are coming up here on the Cherokees. The transmission vent, you want to always check that before a season of being in the water or mud, because I have filled one of these transmissions up with water and it don't like it too much. There's the vent for the transmission right there. And check all that. We're good to go. All right, fellas. that's it. Let me show y'all this real quick. These are the kick panels I made for the doors. They're gonna go right here. I still gotta cut the hole out. They're gonna go like that with the speakers in it and the tweeter up top, and it's gonna be Raptor line this color, the whole door panel, and this and all this black, tan, you know, tan. We'll do the headliner black, all that tan with the Raptor liner. I got another sound bar out of that other Jeep I got, the 97 that I have over there, or 96. We'll see about using that versus this thing. I caught some flack for putting the stereo system in it, but these days I do a lot of riding, and I find myself with people riding with me, and where we go camping at, all behind the camp is no paved roads or no kind of marked roads. It's just Jeep trails, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's, you know, shoot, it's miles and miles and miles through there. So we might have a refreshment and ride, listen to the radio, and then when we go to the blue hole swimming, we open the back up, listen to the radio. So I like it. That's why I put it in here. Now if I'm going on the rocks again, luckily these speakers have this shelf right here, this bumper thing to keep it off the speaker, or I would have done messed them up. But all I got to do is unplug them, cap them off, and go, you know, that's all there is to it. It's easy to remove this box, but now I got to put the high speakers in it. I've been a little, you know, sick for the past month or so, and I'm trying to get back on it. I'm gonna put these in there, hook them up to the highs amp, and then when I take these out, I'll still have tunes and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, you fellas take it easy. I'll holler at you later. I just want to show y'all my redneck waterproofing trick with the Jeeps. It works. I learned it from my uncles back in the day when we used to run. They used to run swamp buggies and Volkswagens with tractor tires on them. You should see them things go. You wouldn't believe it. But anyway, y'all take it easy, man. We'll holler at y'all soon. All right, bye.